Hello, Musto0063 back again with the Mega Man 6 Let's Play Perfect Runs. And for reasons I'll explain later, I'm now going to be commentating over a stage I know rather well. He's the master of Flame, so who else could it be but Flame Man? Now, oil is going to feature rather heavily throughout the stage, so I guess Saudi Arabia is a pretty apt location to find ourselves in. Some standard Mets first up. They don't have any special attack or anything, so they're easy enough to deal with. Next up are some fire tellies. These are much more deadly than the regular telly type enemies you've been used to. These ones drop fire on you, which will be irritating enough, but if they drop fire onto oil, it ignites and results in instantaneous death if Mega Man steps on it. The very non-threatening wall blasters are back. They shoot slowly and can't seem to aim especially well, so you shouldn't have any problems with them. The Pukas are back, those enemies that can't be killed with uncharged Mega Buster shots. So on this occasion, that's how I take them out. This incidentally is a screen that served me with an upcoming moral dilemma, but as said, I'll talk about that in due course. Some of the Pukas need to hit into the oil in order to create a platform to ride to A, cross the oil, and B, get a little extra height in order to exit on the right hand side. When you jump on the platform, it moves in the direction Mega Man is facing. And in case you missed it before, coming up is a fire telly igniting the oil, meaning that I now cannot step on it without dying. Now while there's no oil in this last section, if you miss one of the last two tellies, you could have a hell of a time avoiding their fire drops, especially since it seems to be random when they decide to fire down at you. For this screen, take out the top wall blaster, and as long as you time things reasonably well, you can easily destroy the other two before any of their shots get anywhere near you. So last screen of the level, but it's a long scrolling one. We have the unkillable with Mega Buster shot enemies rolling around on the floor, and Fire Boys. They occasionally arc a fire shot, not always towards you must be said, but never move. The reason why they don't always aim for you is that sometimes they put a higher premium on aiming for the oil, igniting it and adding an extra obstacle to be mindful of. And unfortunately here is where my accidental perfect run comes to an end. I missed all my shots at the Fire Boy, panicked, and didn't get out of the way quick enough. One plus point was that in getting hit there was no risk of screwing myself out of a potential perfect run by stopping Fleck the E-Tank. Not that I think you need too many, if any, to complete this game. So the last little bit, just be careful of the fire shots on the guys up top. There's no way to hit them with the Mega Buster unless you've already passed them, so just wait for a good opening and get the hell out of there. And for that final jump, probably best to wait for the final Fire Boy to shoot before attempting it, at least what with my luck. You just know he'll fire when I'm in mid-air and unable to avoid it. So, excuse my dreadful start to this fight, don't really know what happened there. But Flame Man, from the casual observer viewpoint, looks pretty easy. I can assure you he's not. It's actually not his fireball attack that's the main concern, although you still need to be wary of it, as it moves slower than you might anticipate, so time the jumps well, in between them well. It's the Flame Pillar attack though that usually causes problems, mainly because it can be difficult to predict where the flames are going to rise from the floor. There is no tell. You don't get a warning beforehand or anything, they just rise up. So, if you're not too familiar with his patterns, you're going to struggle with this. There are areas where the fire is more spread out, and that's where you want to aim for, as this obviously gives you more margin for error. But, and this happens a lot with Mega Man 6 Relic Masters, as I said before, he has a nasty habit of calling you, and if that happens, you don't have any spare room to work in. So let me repeat. Apart from the atrocious first few seconds, that might have looked quite simple. It most certainly was not. I get Flame Blast and the other rush adapter, the power one. Flame Blast creates a fire pillar on the floor and will damage enemies if they run into it, but typically when I'm using the weapon, I tend to just aim for the enemy before the fire even touches the ground. Oh boy, there's a story to be told behind my perfect running of this stage. So sit back and enjoy the tale. Okay, so why am I speeding this footage up? Well, the perfect run I originally recorded about what must be almost 4 years ago by now is unfortunately no longer valid. That's because of the screen with the pukas. So if I slow things back down, you can see that I cleared this screen using the same method as I did during the Let's Play version, shard-shotting all of them. So there is actually a more efficient way to clear this screen that does not require me to take all of the pukas out. So on that basis, I've used shard shots unnecessarily, and therefore this isn't a perfect run. So, speeding things back up again, I've included this run in the video to demonstrate that I completed what I thought at the time was a solid perfect run of the stage, but Rowan Mithral's alternative technique has now invalidated it. The good news is that I've recently completed a second perfect run version of this stage, this time keeping alive the pukas that I don't need to destroy. However, for the purposes of the stage run through and the difficulty analysis I'll come to later, I'll be keeping those based upon my original experiences from 4 years ago. So here we go for a third time, and now you know why I said at the start of this video why I know this level rather well. Thankfully no trouble with the Mets, but unfortunately the same can't be said for the fire tellies at the end of the screen. To be precise, I was too slow in killing them, so they managed to set the oil alight, and I didn't jump well enough to avoid landing on the blazing infernos. As for the wall blasters, well, they might as well not even be there, and this screen went fine every time. So here's the puka screen. You can get by this first one without killing it, like so, nor is it necessary to kill the second one, so I jump over it. It is necessary to take out the third one, because although you can jump over it, you wouldn't then be able to get out of the oil up to this high ledge. The fourth one is necessary to destroy, not because you can't jump over it, or that you couldn't get out of the oil, since the ledge is much lower this time, but because those fire tellies would have set the oil alight and killed you. You don't need to have killed the fifth, but you do the sixth, again in order to acquire the necessary height to reach the ledge. And that's all that needed doing differently. The rest of my time is repeating what I pulled off previously. What is definitely worth mentioning though as an extra to that screen is that irritatingly often I was left with 2 fire tellies at the end and they double teamed me. At least a double-digit number of outtakes, thanks to those bastards. So this is the other screen that caused a lot of problems, mostly the second half with the abundance of fireboys, and the one section with both the fireboy and the floor-crawling enemies. So you can see my good luck charm still going strong even after 4 years. So here we go, this bit. It is imperative to take the fireboy out quickly, or you'll find it extremely hard dancing around his arc and fire shots and those floor enemies. As for this bit, take out the second to last fireboy out quickly again to avoid having to deal with multiple arc and fire shots. And as I said before, for goodness sake, wait until the last fireboy shoots before jumping down, or it won't just be Mega Man feeling a burning sensation. Now this is a tricky fight to pull off, make no mistake. The principal concerns, as I previously stated, are the fire pillars. In the heat of the moment, it's difficult to know exactly where they're going to appear. So my advice is to jump before he's about to perform an attack. If it's the fireball one, no biggie, just carry on as normal. If it's the fire pillar one, you give yourself just that little bit more time to adjust your positioning if you need to. Now if he corners you, like he does me here, then you're probably going to have to go with your own judgment. But typically, if you can get about halfway between Flame Man and the wall furthest away from him, that should be a reasonable safe spot. Or at the very least, it seems to be the one place where the fire pillars are further apart. Unfortunately, the fight also drags on a little because the fire pillars do a very good job of blocking off your pellets. So that means you have to survive a little longer than you would ordinarily. But if you can get to grips with the positioning aspect of this battle and keep a cool head, he'll go down soon enough. And I still say that, despite 7 perfect run ending sufferings. I don't want to see this stage again for quite some time. This is not the easiest of the bunch to perfect run, and therefore having to redo it was not something I especially relished. As I said, I will keep the perfect run stats to my original version, although in all honesty, they turned out eerily similar. 1 hour and 5 minutes to get the successful run, the longest of any Mega Man 6 stage thus far. See why I didn't want to have to redo this? A total of 22 outtakes, with Flame Man the cause of 7 of them. Really see why I didn't want to have to redo this. The Puka screen, which is easier if you kill them all, obviously, becomes a little trickier when you don't, as there's a little bit of careful platforming needed. And it's not just the Pukas in that screen. The very end, where you have 2 fire tellys potentially raining down fire, is awkward if you don't kill one of them, particularly as I mentioned they appear to rain down fire at random, and if they happen to be moving downward as well, that leaves you with little room and time to be able to react. The room with all the fireboys can be a pain as well. Sometimes they shoot at the worst possible times, and it's easier than you might think to come a cropper. Lastly, Flame Man himself is no pushover. Don't take the fireball attack for granted. You can easily be caught out by them travelling slower than you expect, but it's the fire pillar attack that definitely takes some getting used to. As said, there tends to be one spot where the pillars aren't quite so close together, and you'll want to head for this spot, but with him jumping all over the room, he can easily corner you and take away that room. I can't help but feel 7 outtakes was a bit too many for my liking, but it's not a fight I find easy by any stretch of the imagination. I did manage to maintain a modicum of calm while playing this stage, so not getting too angry, but 7 outtakes on a Robot Master will almost certainly be enough to wipe any semblance of a smile from my face. So overall, I rate Flame Man as a 5 out of 10. Possibly seems a bit low for a Robot Master that gave me that much trouble, but the completion time didn't feel all that long to me, so I would struggle to give Flame a higher rating. I certainly wouldn't have rated it more difficult than how things turned out for me against Wind, for instance. But with this stage finally out of the way, I can bid you all a good night. Hope to see you next time. Cheerio.